Hi, hello, 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 hello. We are live. Welcome to another live with Hanifa Nayela. I am Hanifa Nayela, and I am happy to be here with you guys another Friday at 5 p.m. as usual. We are having a little bit of technical difficulties today, and so I am still awaiting my guests. We're trying to work that out. So you guys bear with us while we work through that. But while we are working through that, I want to make sure that I see if you're here. See, I have about 7 people in right now. If you're here, just let me know you're here so I can shout you out. Just say something in the chat. Say hi. Say hey. I don't know. Say peace. Say what's up. Whatever. However you greet people, just make sure you let me know you're here in the chat so that I can acknowledge you. I know that Inya is here. She says peace, Hanifa, and wireless woman. Um, Peace to you, Inya, as usual. As usual, thank you for passing through and thank you for your support. I see Tanya 0814 is in the house as well. Thank you, Tanya, for being here and passing through and showing some love and support. And I also see we have, hey, 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 Brianna E. Brianna E is in the house with us. Thank you for being here with us, sis. I appreciate your support and your presence being here. If there's anyone in here who have not subscribed as yet, please go back out, hit the subscribe button, share it on your social media, call your cousins and them, and tell them we are live and we are discussing the greatest topic there is to discuss right now, which is Black women. Black women are such a hot topic right now. So I'm super excited to have this conversation with my guest. I see Shamara. Hey, cuz, thanks for passing through. And thanks for showing support as usual. I appreciate you as usual. Yeah. So we have a good topic today. And we're gonna be discussing, like I said, um okay. um Hey Almeed, I know you're here. So hey, I just want to say hey, it's all right. Thank you for letting me know that you're also here. I appreciate that. I appreciate my family. My family usually supports me, and that is that says a lot to me. That means a lot, and it says a lot to me. So I appreciate them as usual. And so I am still waiting to see. Let me see. Can you hear me? Oh, she went out. Okay, she'll be back. I'm trying to see. Okay. Okay. So, okay, my guest is coming. But anyway, so I wanted to really discuss this topic because this has kind of been an ongoing conversation across social media. And so I wanted to have this conversation with this particular person because I sort of I'm an admirer from far, right? I tap in every chance I get to support her. I love what she's doing. I love her creativity. I love the fact that she is an actual content creator. That for me is fascinating, and I appreciate that because I'm still, learning this space. And so when I run into people who are kind of like actually creating content and putting it out there, and they have that creativity aspect. And if they resonate with my spirit, it's kind of I've been searching. So when I someone sent me her information, and I went and checked her out, and I was like, I know why that person. Now I know why that person told me I would probably like this particular individual. But yes, so we're waiting for our guests to come in, and let me know what you guys think. Just go ahead and shoot some comments while we wait. Let me know what you guys think about the topic today. Have you ever been called masculine as a Black woman? Have you heard Black women be described as masculine? Do you actually feel that maybe you're too masculine as a Black woman? Let me know in the chats, while we wait. This is really a interesting topic to get into because I feel like the term is being thrown around a lot in on social media, particularly in these YouTube streets. And I feel like oftentimes on both ends, when we're describing what like the term toxic masculinity, when people are describing what toxic masculinity is, for me, I'm just like, I don't like that have anything to do with masculinity. I think that person is just a jerk. I think they're just a creep. I think that uh they're just not a good person. I don't think it necessarily have anything to do with masculinity. And then when I hear the term masculinity to describe black women, sometimes I'd be like, no, she just rude. She just rude. She just aggressive. Um, but I really want to talk about it because I think that there is we have to unpack this. It's not a simple black and white conversation. It's not enough to just be, just label someone masculine, right? And just walk away because in that moment they act in a certain type of way. I think there's nuance to the conversation, plenty nuance. Um, and yeah. So let me see. Uh, Enya says, she says, I don't like the term masculine. What about guarded? Yeah, like I said, we're gonna get into that. I am for sure gonna talk about that because I think Enya, so this is what I believe. I believe that there are these talking points that gets released into the, into like the social media ether, right? And everybody latches on to them. So people tend to just start using them without context and just using them sometimes abusively and irresponsibly. That's the word I'm looking for. Without like very in a very irresponsible way. We just in an age where people are not really using their critical thinking. People are too lazy to really research and check into things. And lazy in the sense of like not in the sense of not wanting to work. So instead of lazy, I might just say people just too tired. People just don't have time. So people want it already packaged and on a plate for them. So I think we're getting in. Yeah, I think I see her. I think I see her. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes. Okay. So thank you so much for having me, Hanifa. You do not understand. I'm in a full
You went mute. You muted yourself. I think. Okay, there
okay.
you go. Mhm.
Okay, I'm unmuted, but I still can't myself. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Perfect. Okay. So I am in a full panic sweat trying to get in here. How are you, Hanifa?
I am good. So, can we just take a moment? Because I don't want you to feel rushed, but can we just take a moment to breathe? Take a deep
Absolutely.
breath.
Absolutely.
Gather yourself.
Absolutely. I'm gonna go into avatar mode for just 1 second.
Not a problem. Not a problem. I just don't want you to feel rushed or anything like that.
Absolutely not. Yeah, absolutely not. I it didn't have permission for whatever reason to use my microphone, and so
Okay.
it was picking whatever it wanted to do.
Mhm.
But yes, we are back.
Hi, the wireless woman. Thank you for being
Hi.
here.
Absolutely. And you know what? I know when you come to someone else's show, like they're going to give you like the accolades, but I want to start by saying that I just love your show. Like I really do. As you know, we're both kind of like budding creators.
Mhm.
And I just love to see the energy that goes on your show. And then you come to my show and give me energy. So, it's a sisterhood now. It's a sisterhood.
Yes. And it's funny because Ashan told me about you. He sent me the link to your thing, and I think he just felt like he probably just knew that he's like, you need to know who this person is exactly.
Yes, yes. And Sean is such a great resource. And I always say on my channel, the net doesn't work unless the network works, you know?
Ooh, okay.
So we have to look at our network as a net worth, and we
Hmm.
have to look at how that net works, and we should each be, pulling each other in and making those connections. So I am so excited
Yes,
to
thank you
actually
for.
officially meet your like make your acquaintance.
Same here. Same here. So you know what? I'm going to just get into it. Let's just have a conversation because at first I was like, oh man, I should get some questions. I was like, hell no, I just want to really talk to the sister and just have the conversation about this particular topic. So the topic of black women in these spaces are just it's just a very lucrative
Yeah.
in the sense of viewership and
Yes.
subscribers, right? So it don't
Right.
necessarily have to be which easily translates into coins, right? So
Mm-hmm.
talking about black women, and I don't necessarily have an issue with discussing black women because for me and my platform, that's kind of what I want to do, right? But what I'm noticing is that when these discussions are happening, it's a lot of extractions out of the original context as to the why it's the way it is, right? And it's just usually to push a narrative. And so
Right.
this topic is no different because it's been a hot topic for quite some time. Maybe the last couple of years, would you say?
I think that the black woman, the topic of the black woman, how do we it's an intersectionality. And
Okay.
so I think the topic of the black woman has been a hot topic since slavery. It's been a hot topic since they found a black woman for
Mhm.
good reason. But whether it's Sarah Bartman, whether I'm a huge historian,
Mhm.
so whatever it is about the black woman and the black female image, it has been under attack, it's been merchandised. When you follow all the way Flip Wilson, who
Mhm.
used to play Geraldine,
Mhm.
when you follow the worship, for lack of better terms,
Mhm.
of the black female image, especially for commercialism. I don't think it's any different now. It's just what is the new take on how we can capitalize off of the black female image. It's not at all about who we are as people, our accomplishments and all. It's really because we live in a patriarchy, because we deal with misogyny. If men cannot own the image, like my sign, I got sun coming in through my window, but it says own or be owned.
Mhm.
If we don't start to take ownership, which is something that just black people in general
Mhm.
suffer with, understanding that concept of ownership,
Mhm.
we're going to continue to be subject to whatever it is that people decide that we are in any given season. So
Mhm.
in this season, we're masculine and undesirable.
Okay, so it's the season, and I believe life happens in cycles anyway. Because next season is gonna be something else. So you mentioned, and I want to get into the masculinity piece. We're gonna start there, but I wanted to ask you a question. You mentioned patriarchy, right?
Hmm.
And I've heard a lot of black men now. This is another talking point that black people don't exist in a patriarchy. We exist in
Hmm.
a patriarchy because
Hmm.
black woman is the one that's kind of running the community. How do you
Hmm.
feel about that? Because that's how they dismiss you when you bring up like this is a male dominated
Hmm.
society. It's like no, it's not. What do you say to that?
Well, here's the thing. We are a subculture,
Yeah.
and I know I'm going to kind of go left to come back right,
Okay.
like when you're in a skid. But
Okay.
I used to work in the prisons. Like I worked
Mhm.
in the jails and in the prisons, and jail culture is a subculture. Within that culture, you have all these breakdowns. You got the essays, and you got, the black people, you got the lifers, and you got, so black people have to understand, but they all in prison. They all in prison together. Some got blue jumpsuits, some got green, some got brown, but they're all in prison together. And black people have to begin to understand this is imperative for black women,
Mhm.
but because we are a subset, we are a subculture. But we have to begin to understand it's one system.
Mhm.
It's one system of patriarchy. Now, culturally, black people thrive in matriarchy. So
Mhm.
do Native Americans.
Mhm.
Their women have always been empowered to lead tribes and to, I have a friend named Empress, and she's an Empress of a Cherokee Nation. No one has a problem culturally outside of America with
Mhm.
women having their own autonomy within the culture to contribute.
Mhm.
So I honestly believe that for us, as Black people to think that being countercultural is problematic, because that's been the fight right now. The fight right now has been that our men want to form a patriarchy in the Black community right now. They want to be at the head of the household. They want to protect us in exchange for submission.
Mm-hmm.
So what that means is that they want to create a patriarchy. So they're right, because we must exist in our subculture within a matriarchy if there's even a need for them to feel like they need to assert
Correct.
themselves as men. So I agree with that.
Yes. Okay. So let's get into the femininity discussion because that's why everyone is here. Okay. So all of us, I just felt like in the last couple of years, all of a sudden, okay, the word masculine and feminine entered a lot of Black people's vocabulary.
Vocabulary.
Okay. I mean, I know it's like, I'm sure it was called other things before. I'm like, but now you have like these words, right? That everyone is repeating over and over. So let's talk about femininity and masculinity to start before we even get into why Black women are now being labeled as masculine or is labeled as masculine. What
Absolutely.
femininity and masculinity mean to you?
So we talked about the matriarchy and the patriarchy. Those are systems
Mhm.
of societal systems. So for me, femininity and masculinity are energy. It is the life force. It's the extension of the way life operates in nature.
Yep.
And you have a divine masculine, you have a divine feminine. And one thing I can say is I met a lady about a year ago, because I've always considered myself to be somewhat masculine and never been bothered by it, baby. Never been bothered by it because
Mhm.
I didn't understand what it meant to be male identified.
Okay.
So when I met this lady, she said, you need to get in touch with your, femininity, with your feminine energy. And I was like, yes, sis, no, not me, not the one. Not, keep that. You can keep that over there. Because I felt like femininity had no power.
Mm.
I believed that it was a system, like a power dynamic. So I didn't understand what she meant, because I'm like, I'm not giving up my power. I'm not relinquishing any power to anybody for any reason at any point in time.
Mhm.
But when I begin to understand that it's the energy, it's the intention behind what you want to create, it's the outcome that you will within the way that you approach life, that there's a balance to the divine masculine and the divine feminine that is the very creative life force.
Mhm.
Without this balance,
Mhm.
everything that we know hangs in that balance. We're not
Mhm.
able to create, we're not able to grow generational wealth as Black people culturally, because we don't understand what that energy dynamic is. We think it's a power dynamic.
Yeah, yeah, I agree because when I hear people talk about it, oh man,
It's
because
a
it's
system of rules. It's a
right.
system of rules.
Right, but when I think about, I go to energies as well. That's why I was shaking my head, and I'm like, but I think the polarity of those energies exist in all of us,
Hmm.
right? Because
Hmm.
just like you are a woman, right, and you saying, but I was leaning heavily on my masculine energy to where someone comes in and says to you, you need to tap in a little more to your feminine. You didn't realize that this is like you were heavily on your
Hmm.
masculine
Hmm.
until probably later on. I
Hmm.
think we all have it in us. It saddens me when our men don't realize that they have both, because if you are leaning heavily on any one side, that is unhealthy. Anything
Very.
that's imbalanced is unhealthy. So when
Hmm.
I hear them have the conversation around masculinity, femininity, and so forth, these things exist in nature as well. We are nature. We are part of nature, right?
Exactly.
And so when you talk about the polarity, you're talking about negative and positive. You're talking about yin yang. I mean, you go in all different cultures and you will find feminine,
Hmm.
masculine expression
Hmm.
throughout nature, throughout
Yeah.
cultures. It's
Yeah.
always existed. But I
Hmm.
think what is happening now is that there's a gendering of the energies that's happening. And I think that's where the confusion is coming in, because
Hmm.
the reality is this: how I had to learn it we go between those energies throughout the day. Okay.
Mhm.
So if I have to go to the store and I have to bring the groceries to the car, right? I got to tap into a certain energy within myself, right? That strength to do
Mhm.
that, right?
Mhm.
Active, right? When women go into corporate America,
Mhm.
right? They
Right.
got to tap into a certain energy to survive and to navigate that space. Where does
Absolutely.
the energy come from? It comes from within you. You're not
Mhm.
pulling that from outside of you. And that's the other thing as well. What I'm noticing in this, specifically in this space, a lot of women are teaching femininity, right? There's a lot of femininity, and I know I'm
Come
gonna let you
through.
speak on that, sis. I'm gonna let you speak on that. There's a lot of femininity coaches that have popped up,
Mhm.
and the way that they're discussing femininity, it is something to be acquired that is outside
Side
of
of you.
you.
Mhm.
Like you
It's
said,
something to put on, like
ooh,
a dress.
yes, it's something to
Mhm.
put on and take off. And I'm like, where is the conversations about tapping in? Like that
Mhm.
sisterhood that lady
Mhm.
came and told you about. Where are
Mhm.
those conversations? No, you guys are telling women take bubble baths. You guys are not, you guys are telling women, they should, make their faces up, look a certain way, get their nails done. And all of that is good. But
Mhm.
that's not necessarily femininity.
It
Okay.
is not. It is not.
Right. And then there's also this idea that femininity is just this docile, quiet energy. And I'm like, huh? Nah. Because if you talk about big mama energy and you talk about big
Mhm.
mama energy as far as spiritual energy, big mama energy is fierce.
Mhm.
Spirit is fierce. You
Mhm.
come after her children and you'll see another side. Do you get what?
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
go ahead and speak to that.
Well, let me make a caveat right quick and just let you know, Hanifa, that I wore this red lip today for you because sis, you be rocking and wearing the hell out that red lip that you
Thank
have.
you.
And I normally use a nude lip, but today I said since I am coming on since I'm gonna be live with Hanifa, I'm gonna go red lip to red lip. So that's a caveat. We didn't get to get into that because but
Thank you.
that red lip is everything, that
Thank
red lip
you.
is feminine. Yes. I think, that is the reason why the wireless woman was born. And that's why I'm
Mhm,
so appreciative that you picked this topic for today,
mhm,
because everything is created from the feminine energy. It is the most powerful energy. And when you
mhm,
go into other cultures, they have because what I was going to say is when we come out of balance, we go into chaos. That's the one thing that people don't understand about yin and yang
mhm,
is that it is a chaos model. It is something that's given to people, the Godhead, whatever it is that you serve, it
mhm,
is given to people to stave off chaos. That's why
mhm,
balance is so important. And when you look at like the goddess Shiva and some of these Indian goddesses, because this is how those people in that era and that realm experience God. We love to
mhm,
take that from people and say, oh no, it's what we say it is, just like femininity.
mhm,
But those people have these powerful, strong goddesses of chaos that are capable of massive amounts of violence. They got tons of
mhm,
arms. And the nature of a woman is creative. It is so powerful. So it's like what you said, what brings the divine feminine into, I won't say like subjection, but balance,
mhm,
is everyone understanding inherently that no one's more valuable than the other. And I think that's where the dynamic with women got off. Women are trying to ascribe their value to things that they have that men don't. And
mhm,
that's why you see, like you said, it's in baths and it's in being quiet and it's in
mhm.
being feminine. But what men have to understand, or what they consider to be feminine based on gender roles,
Yeah, yeah.
but what they have to understand is that the highest power of that the man is raised to is the woman.
Mhm,
The man is not able at any point. And like I said, I get men to be like, I just feel like you against the men. I am not. But when you guys came to the end of what you could do and be as men, God created a woman to fill that
mhm,
gap.
mm,
If you had it, we wouldn't have been here. You know what I mean? Just like the highest power of the woman is the child.
mhm,
The child is the evidence that the woman is able to bring life to
mhm,
continue life forward.
mhm.
So we have been taught from the Godhead that the head of the man is God and the head of the woman is the man.
Mm-hmm.
And I ain't gonna mess with nobody religion. But when God wanted to raise man to the second power, he created a woman. We are not here to recreate what they've already done. We don't do the work. We are the visionaries that take that work to the next level.
I got you.
You know, when and
Mm-hmm.
that's what you have in a business. You have a supervisor, right? And the
Mm-hmm.
supervisor doesn't do the work. The supervisor watches everyone do that work and then says, here is a better way, or here is the direction that we're moving in. And that's when women talk about resting in their femininity. That's what that actually is. But a lot of women feel like they got to get down underneath a man in order to rest in their femininity, but your place is at the head. And when I say that, like I said, it gets sticky. But ever since I embraced my headship as a woman, I stopped striving with going back and forth with men. I was able to ascend from princess energy into queen energy. And now I'm exercising femininity the way that it was meant to be exercised without all that strife.
Well, here's the thing that I had to do, because one of the things that you just mentioned is feminine energy is creative energy. It is, okay? And so when we are seeing women teaching, I'm just going to go ahead and say it, women teaching sensuality, okay? Sensuality masquerading as femininity. That is what it is. You are teaching women how to be sexy. You are teaching women how to capture the male gaze and how to
Yes.
maintain and how to captivate. And so at the end of the day, the femininity of a woman, you're still connected it to the existence of men and the approval and validation of men. But femininity, exactly, right? It's way more than that. So that's one of the things that I see in this space as well. And I'm just like, no, what are we doing? What's going to happen to these younger women that are listening to this? Because that's not necessarily it. One of the
Mhm.
things that I had to do for myself, even though, like you have a knowing in your spirit, but it's like okay, so my relationship with spirit is very funny. I could be a little stubborn, okay?
Tell me about it.
Yeah, I'm that child of spirit that says, okay, I hear that, but let me see if anybody else know about it too. So now I gotta go and get what we call confirmation, right? Even
Absolutely.
though it's a knowing. So I know some of these things. So I found myself having to study. And one of the things that I ran into, if you dig deep enough, you're going to find the woman. You will find goddess. It is there. It has always been there. There was something that existed before the system of patriarchy was even introduced.
Right, right,
Okay, we
right. You have to ask yourself the question, why was the system of patriarchy introduced?
correct, correct. And in my study, I'm learning all of this, right? And I'm just like, wow. And so now, on a spiritual level, when I see all the stuff that's happening, the back and forth, what they call the gender wars, the friction, I'm just like, this is the divine feminine taking her rightful
For
place again.
place.
Correct.
Right,
And so there
right.
is a lot of pushback that's happening, right?
Mhm,
Because a lot
mhm,
of us don't know what place she had in the first place. All we know is that our place is under the tutelage
mhm,
of man, right? And
mhm,
so, and I want to get into Black women specifically and where
mhm.
this idea of us um become, what do you call it?
Right, right.
Being called masculine,
Mhm.
why do you think, and I see some questions in the comment. Let me get to the comment real quick, okay? Um,
Yes.
First of all, let me do this. I didn't do my little thing. Guys, if you are new here, subscribe, hit the subscribe button, share, like. If you haven't followed me yet on Instagram, follow me at the real Hanifa Nayela. And if you are feeling generous, my Cash App is right there. It will be there for the remainder of the show. Let me see. I usually put this up just for anyone that is easily triggered.
Trigger warning.
Yes, please view at your own discretion, okay? Because sometimes we get deep over
Mhm.
here, and so I just wanted to make sure I put that out there. But I want to get to some of
Yes.
the comments real quick. Harmony says, we Black women have had to exude more strength, independence, and resilience than any other queen culture. Our men are the most hunted, our children the most exploited, and we are the most what? Disrespected.
Yes.
Ashe, I agree with that, Harmony. Very well said. She also said we haven't ever not been at war here for our entire existence.
Mhm.
Okay, we
Mhm.
are balanced, and she says we also are not in our natural environment.
Mhm.
I agree with that as well. Ashan says, "Cheers, ladies." Thanks, Ashan, for linking us. Brianna said, "You can't put on femininity." Yeah, that's
No.
pretty.
I mean,
Yeah.
if you can put it on, you can take it off, and that's why we're watching so many men put it on now, like, I ain't gonna get into that, I ain't gonna go there,
Uh-uh.
but when we commercialize femininity down to those, characteristics and those things that we wear, it can be merchandised. Anybody can be a Black woman now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Daryl says, salute, Hanifa. Salute to you too, Daryl. Thanks for passing through, showing some support. Who do we have? Lionheart. Okay, no. Brianna says, yep, femininity is not just to get a man. That's what's happening right now, though. That is the conversation. We are literally telling women, we're not telling women to tap into their femininity because that's where their creative force is. We're not telling women that, that's where vision is, right? That's where vision is birthed from. Like, we're not
Mhm.
teaching these things. We're teaching them
Mm,
how to be sensual and how
right.
to captivate the attention of men. And so, what we've done is we have reduced femininity to just a sexual thing. And that's ridiculous. And actually, it's an insult to the divine feminine, to be honest. Right? So yes, I agree with that. OG Patrice says, greetings and salutation. I had a question. Lionheart says facts. Revolution. I like that name. Revolution. She
That's my
said,
Sean. Hey, Sean.
Dara said, I would love to hear men putting on femininity and taking it off. Sounds great. Yeah.
Yeah.
So someone had a question though. My cousin, she was asking, oh, please, if you both can give your definition of femininity, how would
Mhm.
you define femininity if someone was to ask you to define it?
Mhm. I think, like I said, femininity is understanding that we all fit together into the collective consciousness of God. I'm not going to know everything. You're not going to know everything. Women are like flowers of the field. So some are lilies, some are lilacs, some are sunflowers, some
Mm-hmm.
are, so to me, femininity has to be as multifaceted as women are. A tulip is not going to look like a lily. And if I say that the only way to be a woman is to be a lily, something's going to be lost in the female feminine expression. And I think the vacation of femininity is what has led to the gender war. I think women not being willing to embrace what the power of what being a woman just in your natural essence
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
is the same reason why so many men now feel the need to come into women's spaces. Like, we don't even have safe spaces
Right.
to express femininity anymore, because we will end up in a fight with each other talking about what femininity is when we compare it to what men say they want. So to me, femininity is like natural gas or oil. It's this diamonds. It's an untapped resource. In the same way they compare diamonds and say, well, this one's flawed and this one is, they occurred in nature. It's only
Mm-hmm.
based on what value we place on the diamond that says this one is better than this pearl is, has more clarity than that one. Who cares?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
A pearl is a pearl.
Yeah. This is for me personally, I go to like the energy that's in nature. When you sit down and you have an idea, right? That's your feminine energy in you at work. When you execute that idea, that is your masculine energy at work. So if I was to break it down energetically, that's how I would describe that. Okay. This idea of oh, women are emotional, right? And when a man is emotional, he is called feminine as an insult. But the reality is this: men who lack emotion are imbalanced. That is unhealthy, and we don't talk about that enough. You know what
Exactly.
I'm saying? So because our men, black men in particular, have been shamed in a sense, like have to
Mhm.
be, I hate to use the word, but just for lack of a better term, hyper masculine. You
And
know,
can I interject something to
sure,
that?
go ahead.
You're absolutely right. And when they're out of balance like that, that's what makes them hypersexual. That's what makes them seek out so much of the female feminine energy, trying to balance out their own energy. And
Mhm.
when you get to other cultures of men, you'll see that. Like I see Brazilian men kiss each other smooth in the mouth. And I'm like, this is awkward.
Mhm.
But they're, like you said, being expressive, communicating,
Mhm.
talking is encouraged more in other
Mhm.
cultures than it is in Black culture because, and I think that comes out of slavery, that comes out of stud culture
Yes.
where our men weren't able to have feelings or else they would, you know,
Mhm.
they would have to deal with the master. They weren't able to express feelings like that.
Mhm.
But definitely that lack of imbalance, I think, is what we're seeing from our men, this, Nick Cannon and this
Mhm.
hypersexuality, I'm going to put kids everywhere stuff. I definitely agree with you.
And even in some cultures, how men sit in proximity to each other in comparison to our culture, right? You might see men elbows touching when they're like in groups, and here it's like, dude, why are you so close to me? It's a very interesting dynamic. Western culture is very interesting. A part of it is that, and when you start to get into the history of it, you understand how much they've tried to bury the divine feminine, right? And so to the
Yeah.
point where any sight of her, she
Hmm.
is there's a shame aspect that's introduced immediately. So
Yeah.
if it shows up too much in woman, too much, there's shame there. And if it shows up in men, it's shame there.
Same there.
Because so the
Hmm.
issue is not the person or the expression, it's the feminine energy that's the issue, right?
Hmm.
So people have no relationship. I'm talking about men here, have no relationship with it within themselves. Now
Hmm.
we can talk about black women being too masculine. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, when we talk about black, like you just said, you think this goes back. You see how easily you can say that? I think it goes back to slavery. Our men weren't allowed to show you. That was very easy. Okay. I wish that more of our men would have this conversation as to
Hmm.
why black women show up with
Yeah.
such strong energy
Yeah.
oftentimes. So when you hear that black, do you think that there's any truth at all to black women being too masculine?
So I'm going to come at this.
Mhm.
I think that when they remove the woman from the Godhead, like somehow you got a father, you got a Holy Spirit who's also a man, but then you get out of that a child. And it's like, you don't see that anywhere in nature, you know?
Wait, let me
So,
stop you right there, the wireless woman. When that's been challenged, right? So when people say I wrote a whole spoken word about this.
well, we know who wrote the books. Just like white
Right.
people write the history, they get to tell the story. When men write the history, they get to tell the
Correct.
story.
But here's this: when that's challenged, they're like, "Oh well,
Well,
the Holy Spirit is still the what you call it
active force
the
of God.
feminine whatever." Right, right.
Yeah.
I said, but she's invisible. You've made her ghost.
Yeah.
She's still unseen. But go ahead, go ahead.
But even as a ghost, she's the most powerful force in the Bible. There's nothing that's created that isn't created without her. And wisdom is characterized as a woman. And it says that God submitted himself to wisdom
Mm-hmm,
and used her to create everything that he made.
mm-hmm,
But here's the thing that we have to understand as Black women. Excuse me. Okay. Here's the thing we have to understand as Black women. We are the creators of a nation
mm-hmm.
because our men have not been able. And here's the thing, I'm not male identified. I'm
Okay.
gonna go ahead and tell you that right now. I
Can
don't
you
cape
tell us
for
what that
men.
means? Can you tell us because you've said it twice? Tell us what I mean, please.
Surely I will. What I mean is when I decided to step into my feminine energy, when I was given an invitation to step into my feminine energy and I decided to accept that and embrace that, I understood that I'm no longer responsible
Mm-hmm.
for what men do or don't do. I'm not going to cape for them. I don't have a cape. I don't have a superwoman cape anymore.
Mm-hmm.
If we don't have it, it's because they didn't bring it. And that has nothing to
Mm-hmm.
do with me. Yes, there's been slavery. Yes, there's been systemic racism. Yes, there's been mass incarceration. But there has also been opportunities that have been left on the table. There has also
Mhm.
been cooperation that couldn't be reached. So my role and my position as a woman in my feminine energy is to bring balance to the force by being the visionary, by being the
Mm.
one that brings forward the energy that is needed to create. Like you said, the ideas, the thoughts, but I do not defend men. I ain't got no sword for them. I ain't got no
Mhm.
shield for them. Let them tell their own stories. Let them figure out and make their own way. Because as long as I'm moving towards creating for them and doing for them, one is
Mhm.
taken away. Like when you said, are Black women masculine? Absolutely. And that's the reason why we can't be over here doing the work of what the woman is supposed to do. A lot of
Mhm.
while we're in the wilderness, walking around the mountain for 40 years on a trip that was only supposed to take 3 days, is because we don't know where we're going. And the reason we don't know where we're going is because women are afraid to be the visionaries. We so busy trying to be the architect. Well, let me help him get his license so that he can get on the road, so that he can drive trucks, so that he can help me
Mhm.
to, pay these bills. When you have everything within you to get your education, pay the bills and buy the house yourself.
Mhm.
It should not have to be that way. But as
Mhm.
long as we're trying to pull our men along, we have to move out of feminine energy into masculine energy to make excuses for them, to cover for them, to take
Mhm.
charges for them, and so that's what I mean when I say male identified. I don't understand the male perspective. I'm not a man.
Mhm.
I'm not going to pretend to speak for them. If it's something that they need, they don't have, I hope they figure that out. So that's what I mean when I say I'm not male identified. They whole realm is sitting over here shrouded in mystery. I don't know what they think until they tell me, and then when they tell me, I believe them.
Oh, I love how you said that, because I was wondering where we were going with this, and then I was like, okay, I that's very clear, because I've been saying too that we are so occupied as women that with what men are doing or not doing, we put so much energy into that. We put so much energy into trying to tell
Preach.
men how to be men, and while doing that, we are abandoning our post.
Hmm.
We're abandoning our post, because the
Hmm.
feminine has some serious significance. Every time I have a show with women, I say I talk to women because I know we have the power to change the trajectory of
Hmm.
the culture. I know that
Hmm.
we do. But more
Absolutely.
than what I'm noticing is, you know what we're doing? We believe in our men more than we believe in ourselves.
Preach.
So what's happening is, it's almost like we're saying we have to put the energy into getting the men there. But who is getting us here? So it's
Well,
almost
the promise has been if we could get them there, they would take us with them. But that's not how the feminine creative energy
like,
works.
Lord have mercy. I like the fact that you said my focus is to bring in the balance. I am here with you, sis. I am here with you with that. And
This is why we're here today.
yes, I said that as well. In your home, right? Everybody's and we're gonna get into submission too, by the way, because we have to touch that
We
today,
have to. We
because
have
that is
to.
connected to this topic as well. But in your home, are you so occupied with sitting waiting and saying, well, he's the head of the house? And I'm like, no, you
Mhm.
listen, you have the power, right, to set the tone for your entire house,
Mhm.
right, as a woman.
Mhm.
Okay, you have the power to educate your children, to deposit what you need into their minds. But here you are, occupied with how men should act, whether men are providers or not, whether men are protected or not. Like, you're so occupied with all of that, that you are
Mhm.
not occupied with the things that
Mhm.
you need to be occupied with. You're not
Mhm.
occupied with, like you said, tapping into your feminine. Or what I'm seeing a lot as well is it's come to the point to the wireless woman that a lot of our sisters are now out there trying to compete with men. Men have
Mhm.
a place. You don't have to do that as a woman,
Mhm.
because your value does not come from whether you win or lose in competition with a man. Your
In
value
fairness,
is
though, let me say this,
go ahead.
because I'm all about the sword and the shield, and on my channel, I talk a lot about what the balance is. Like you said, it is still both. And
Yes.
in all fairness, they came
Mhm.
for us first. They came into all these
Oh,
female feminine spaces. Look, I gotta rile the people up. I gotta get the people going because I will say this. We were sitting in the back. We have gone along with every scheme that our men have come up with that they said was going to put our community back on top.
okay.
When mass incarceration came in, when we had crack all in our neighborhoods in the 80s, who brought that in there? Our men did. And they capitalized. We got all these rappers that glorified drug culture and all that stuff. And when they got on top of the community and they were supposed to pull everybody back up with them, they didn't do it. And that's the place where we as women now are going to have to be the visionary and say, okay, we're going this way. If y'all are coming, that would be great. We've got some things, we got some work over here for y'all to do, but we're no longer feeding into the vision for the household that says we want to reduce your contribution as women, because we have single-handedly pulled our community up out of despair and destruction. We're, as Black women, we're one of the most educated groups of women. We are
Mhm.
one of the most upwardly mobile groups of women. We're the largest group of new business owners, and it is because of those women that have stopped being male identified, being worried about what
Mhm.
these men doing, and just said, you know what, I'll go and get it myself. That's been the shift into the masculine energy that we've seen, and that's where the pushback is coming from.
So my only pushback to that is, wait,
Push, push,
yeah,
sis, push.
yeah, let's have the conversation. What good is a vision without the execution? So in other words, let's say my vision is a, and I hate to put it just on physical labor. Oh gosh, but this is the
Put it, do it.
example that come to my mind. Right. You have the vision of this huge building or whatever, right? Like someone who is, like you said, an architect, right? Or not an architect. Yeah, an architect. They draw out the building, the blueprint, whatever that
Mhm.
is. Now you need somebody to go to work. You get what I'm saying?
Yes.
I don't necessarily know that I can't get with the we can go our own way.
Wait.
I
Hmm.
I can get with we can bring in the balance,
Right.
but I don't know that women can go their own way and just be fine without that other part of the balance, because the
Right.
balance is not necessarily it doesn't happen like this, your turn then my turn then my no, it's always happening. It's a harmonious dance that's
I
always
agree.
taking place,
I
right?
agree.
And so when I hear you say, um I'm going this way, you can come or you can't come, I'm just like, okay, but how far are we going with that?
Right, and that's where the submission piece comes in.
Mhm.
That's
Uh-huh.
where the submission piece that we gonna get into goes to it. I completely, like, I hear this all the time and I get it, and you're
Mhm.
absolutely right, because
Mhm.
I can have these great blueprints, but without we need our men to build our community, period. Not gonna take
Period.
that from
Mhm.
them, period. They
Mhm.
if they don't do it, it won't get done. I believe that fully.
Okay.
I have 2 sons. I was watching some comments. I have 2 sons and I have a
Me too.
daughter. And so I understand the need to show that balance. However, what is workers? What
Mm.
is people creating unorganized workers without a vision? And what you have to remember is everything is microcosm, macrocosm, because we say this within the Black culture and we strive and go back and forth with each other as if white supremacy is not responsible for that. But that's what white people do all the time. When they decided they didn't like the president that we picked, you know what they did? They all got together and went up there to the Capitol and said, we're going to do something about it. They went their
Mhm.
own way.
Mhm.
Steve Jobs went his own way. Elon Musk went his own way. If you build it, they will come. And I'm not saying I'm tossing the men to the side. Like people have to hear like how I am on a regular basis, because baby, I got a man. And I let baby, he ain't got no complaints. He ain't never asked
Right.
me to submit. Listen, he ain't never had to ask me to submit. He ain't never had to tell me if he wants something that he ain't getting, baby. Because so I talk this talk on this internet, but I understand. But what I know is the Bible says you have to do the works of righteousness.
Mhm.
There's a vision, yes. But if we don't start heading in that direction, if we as Black women don't go ahead and lead our community, I know our men said we had to let them do it. I just ain't seeing what I want to see. But if we go ahead and go this way, we will give them an infrastructure to be able to build some things that they can be proud of. I don't think we have taken into consideration the amount of trauma that they're under, the amount of generational curses that have come down through all of the things that they have suffered. So
Mm-hmm.
if we are actually in a better position, just because we are the creators of this society, we
Mm-hmm.
are in a matriarchy. It was set up that way by white patriarchy.
Mm-hmm.
So if we can use our position, like I tell white people that all the time, until I see y'all using white privilege to help black people, I don't care. I don't care about your problems. I
Mm-hmm.
know that y'all say y'all love us and y'all care. Well, use it. Use your power to do something for me. So we
Mm-hmm.
as black women now have to use our power to do for our men what they want or can't. Or like I said, I don't pretend to speak for them, understand it. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Y'all figure that out. But we
Mm-hmm.
have to use our position because we're in those boardrooms. We're in those colleges. We're in those spaces that they can't be in. That's something in the 70s that the Black Panther females understood. They used their
Yes.
power in those white spaces to
Yes.
build up the black community. So I'm going to go that way. And I'm going to hope that my men will see the things that I'm trying to bring back for the culture and support that. If they do or if they don't, it will be to our destruction.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have anything for them to be upset with me over this.
Mm-hmm.
If they had rockets, if they had militaries,
Mm-hmm.
if they had political parties, then they wouldn't have to worry about me and what I'm doing. We wouldn't be having a conversation about masculine and feminine and am I too masculine? Am I? But we have to use our masculine energy now to move into the spaces that they can't because somebody would shoot them because they would get arrested.
I see what you're saying.
I talk trash to white men all day on my job. I'm in corporate America, I'm in white spaces, and I can say the things that a black man can't. I'm in boardrooms with black men and they see it and they want to
Mm-hmm.
say it, but they can't say nothing. But I can say it because I'm a woman. That's the power of femininity, is that white men don't feel challenged by me. So they be like, well, I think these are some things that we can consider. And, we never thought of it like that. So I'm using my power to influence change. But if a black man had said that, they would have took that as a head-on threat. And I think sometimes when I move into that masculine energy, my
Mm-hmm.
black men think that's a competition with me, with between me and them, but it's actually a competition for power and power structure. And they don't have the power structure white men do. So let me take them on.
So you made a good point. So here's a couple of things. So I get what you're saying now. I'm very clear on that now. So I'm glad we cleared that up, sis. Yes.
You see what I'm saying? I was going somewhere.
I'm a
I
very
love that
visual.
though. I love that we're pushing each other this way. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm a very visual person. And so when you were speaking, I'm like, yeah, it's almost like the house is burning. And you are sitting up in there talking about, well, he don't have, I'm gonna wait for him to put this fire out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you're like, okay, he don't have what he needs at this moment to put it out. Am I going to sit there and burn?
Yeah. Are we gonna complain about why you go get the water without me? I need the water. You could have gave me
Exactly
the
what we
water.
doing. Okay, you know what? Let me go and do this then. Let me get up. Let me move. Let me get out the house. Let me get the
Mm-hmm.
children out the house. Whatever I need to do.
Yeah, and if he's seeing you throw the water, then that gives him the opportunity, like you said, to go get the kids. Like either one of us can do this, but if I got water in my hands, let me, why should I stop? Give it to you. Then I got to go get the kid. That's disorganized.
Correct. So, and then the other thing that a good point you brought up, even though you didn't say it this way, this is what I heard. So we were talking about femininity and using your femininity to move the collective forward. Now, that is what I don't hear us talk about. Okay. Using your femininity, like you use the Black Panther movement and the women who were in a part of the Black Panther movement, you made some really good points to where you, as women, our femininity allows us into spaces and places, even sometimes being able to say certain things, right?
Mhm.
That our men cannot get away with. And it's very important for us to acknowledge that. But in
Yeah,
order to acknowledge that, right, we have to stop seeing our men as the enemy. We have to, because
fair.
as long as I see my men as the enemy, then I'm not thinking of ways for me to work, right? Or pick up where maybe they're missing. You know what I'm saying? Because we are so stuck on this, men are the leaders. We gotta wait for men. Men are the
We got
leaders.
that from white society though.
Oh, don't get me
60%
started.
of the yeah, 60% of the Black Panther Party was women. We've always outnumbered our men because our men are more heavily incarcerated than any other group of men. So
Yeah,
we're not going to get this done if we don't use our women as our franchise player. You
thank you,
know,
thank you. And so
I'm Kobe Bryant now. Just pass me the ball. Just inbound me, inbound me the ball.
yeah, so when you said that, I was like, that's a good point. Using your femininity not to manipulate, not to do dark sex magic, whatever they're doing these days. Okay, not to, sway men in your direction, but use it. And that's why we have to have what is it, a mindset that is connected, that we are connected to a collective who are being down pressed in this society.
Absolutely.
Okay, you going off on your own doesn't help, because here's the thing: if I'm suffering, then you are. If a society is so oppressing me, and you are a black woman too, what makes you think that you get off scot-free?
Yeah,
Okay, and this goes even for the divestors. And I know you had a video about you divested, and then
I came back. I came back. I'm
you
back.
came you came
I'm
back.
back, brothers. I'm back. I
Yes,
have seen
but I
the
wanted to
errors of my
get
way.
into the black woman being masculine. Okay,
Mm.
you said absolutely. Can we talk about why?
Well, like I said, we are double agents. And when you look at every large black movement that we have had, because I'm not gonna lie, I'm not at war with my black men. I love them, but I do have some issues with them because it's
Mhm.
been these black women, it's been your Fannie Lou Hamers, it's been your Rosa Parks. It's been your what was the woman they kicked off the bus before Rosa Parks? Because she didn't get to shine. But
The
my point
darker
of what
one. Go ahead.
yeah, but my point, yep, the darker one. But my point is, we have had to put our women in those spaces. Like black men have to understand that we pick cotton in fields beside them. Sojourner Truths ain't our woman. Harriet Tubman's, to your Nat Turners. There has never been a point in this country where the black man could say he was striving for any type of equality on his own. We've always been not just a part, but in oftentimes at the forefront of the struggle for rights, for freedom, for um, access. We have been in tandem with our men. But I think what happens is so often we don't look, black people think that we are isolated in the world. We don't look at Jewish people and how they fought for their freedom, their rights. We don't look at Haitians. We
Mhm.
don't look at even the black diaspora, other places where there have been successful
Mhm.
coups, because I'm a visionary too, and a lot of black people don't understand that we are on the precipice of a revolution,
Mhm.
and either black people are going to take their rightful place in this country, because the same way you talked about that suppression of the feminine energy and how now the black woman is, the woman, because she
Mhm.
got to be black, that's the original woman, is now that energy is coming out with a force and with a vengeance. We're seeing that same dynamic now just with us as black people. We've been suppressed for so long, there's nowhere else for us to go but up. But if we don't start to get to the point where we recognize that no one, and this is what I'm doing is I'm talking in two different spaces. This conversation is to the black woman
Mhm.
because she has to see herself as a subset of blackness. Like, unfortunately, I would love to say that we're going to get there with all our men intact. But on the other side of the divestment conversation that women are having, you got a lot of black men that are saying, this culture is not worth us trying to help you. We're not going to defend you if you don't submit to us. We're not going to protect you. We're not going to build for you. White women are better. It's thick out here. You know what I'm saying? So we may not get everybody through the Red Sea. Everybody might not be coming with us, and we got to be real about that. But this was a point to black women being masculine. Yes, we are. We always have been, because we've had to enjoin our feminine energy to the
Mhm.
divine masculine in order to get things done. We're still building a community. We're not resting in our femininity yet. We're
Mhm.
not at the place that white culture is, where they're passing on generational wealth, where they, have access to, they on the moon and rockets. Like, we're not
Mhm.
there. And as
Mhm.
long as we're not there, we're still like that house you were talking about, building it. So that means it's all hands on deck. But
Exactly.
And when I talk to black men, hold on, I'm going somewhere with this. When I talk to black men, they always say we don't care about, other cultures and what other cultures are doing. Black culture, but when you go in that nail salon, there's a woman sitting there doing some feet. There's a man sitting right there beside her.
Hmm.
There's
Very
a
true.
man doing nails. They don't care about nails. See, that's a woman's work. I ain't gonna be. She got to submit to me because
Mhm.
I. No, they work together. When you go to the beauty supply store, nail salon shop, gas station. I have some East Indian friends that were from like Somalia, and the woman works during the day in the beauty supply store. The husband come in and works at night. The kids work on the weekend. Like,
It's a family affair. Hmm.
why is this so hard, black people? Why is this so hard? Nobody is concerned. Like, well, I do the books because she can't do the stocking because I got it. Like, they just get it done.
Well, to be fair, I actually think, and in particular in America's society, I actually think that there is a lot of internalized racism. I think
Mhm,
that we have really believed the bullshit that have been said about
mhm,
us,
mhm.
and once you internalize it, then we begin to project it onto each other. So
Mhm.
there's like a genuine dislike for each other. Like, see, it's like a genuine dislike.
This is true, but people don't understand that misogyny is the same spiritual force as racism. It says
Agreed.
that based on who you are, what characteristics you have, you're less than me. So when
Mhm.
our men move into that misogynistic space, they're bringing the same energy of white supremacy down into our community.
Good point.
That's why we got to get it out.
Right. And I've also seen where I'm going to say our men, because I claim black men. So
Listen, honey, so I know. I know. I knew we was gonna have some static over this, but we're representing two completely different,
absolutely, and I'm
so
fine. I'm
and they're
fine
both
with that.
valid. Yeah, they're both
Yeah,
valid.
yeah, I'm fine with that. My thing is that, like, I've seen some of our men talk about there's no such thing as colorism. The only people that talk about colorism are unattractive women. That blew me. That blew me, because if you think there's no colorism, then that means you think there's no racism,
Yep,
because
no
colorism
sexism.
does not exist without that. It just does not exist. So when I hear men say that, I'm just like, you guys have got to be kidding me. and
Yeah,
and, so, and the conversation is like, no, if you either fine or you're not fine, and I'm like, no, y'all know that is not
not true.
true.
Yeah,
But
but they
and by the way, the masculinity conversation, there's even some sprinkle of colorism in there,
absolutely.
whereby, yeah, whereby you have, like, automatically, you see
Mm,
a darker complected woman, you see a lighter complected woman, right? You
yeah,
automatically think the lighter one is softer, simply
absolutely.
because her complexion is lighter.
Absolutely. Yeah, but see, that's what I was saying about these other cultures of women and like the comparison,
Mhm.
all of the talk about masculinity. I've never heard an Asian man call a working, educated Asian woman masculine. So it goes back to the definitions again,
But
because
are they calling us masculine because we are working? Is it that, or is it the energy? Because I'm just gonna say it. A lot of our women are attitudinal as hell. Okay, like, just stinking attitudes for no reason. That's the
have
thing.
you been in a Dominican home?
Wait, I'm coming to that. I'm coming, sis. I'm coming. I agree that some of our women are aggressive, but it's no different than in many other cultures.
Italian
Like, you just
women.
brought up Latin women, but they don't get called masculine. They
Right,
get
no one
called
does. That's my
feisty.
point. No other culture of women that do the same things we do get called masculine. And the saddest part about it is these women run their households, exude confidence, whatever it is, whatever the attitude is that you say, whatever you isolate it down to, a black woman, rejecting you, whatever. Another woman can do the same exact thing.
Mhm,
But because her community is built,
mhm,
because her community is intact. Why is Karen Karen? What is Karen so mad about? Why does
mhm,
Karen want to call the police every time she sees somebody doing a cookout why does Karen think something's wrong with the world if there's somebody black in her? Because Karen is protected.
mhm,
So Karen can act like that. And no one's gonna call Karen. I mean, and Karen's in masculine energy. That's
mhm,
real masculine what Karen
mhm,
is on. And we're
mhm.
still being compared against that, saying, but that's better than what you are. And it's like I said, it comes down to we still are trying to build a community. And I'm one of those people that, like I said, microcosm, macrocosm. I'm not looking at Black culture. I'm looking at where we are in society, and we have moved to 238% in the wealth gap. We're behind every other race and culture of people except Hispanics. And Hispanics, their economy grew 22% over the last 2 years over ours. We lost 3 percentage points. Our economic growth as Black people is negative 3%.
Okay. Wow.
Let that sink in for a second.
Yeah,
And
whoa.
you're really having conversations with Black women about whether or not education works. You're really having conversation with Black women about whether or not they are masculine. Like, I'm so over the conversation because it's so asinine. When those people in Ukraine got ready to get on those trains, and then white people told them they couldn't get on those trains because they were Black, because they were immigrants, I don't think Black people are really paying attention to the fact that all of these gender war, color, racism, body image, like now they on this whole thing, Black women are fat and out of shape, like as if every other group of Italian, with everybody out of shape. If you eat and you don't work out, you out of shape. It's not because you're Black. This one guy, he was like, these other women make better wives. Da, da, da. I said, listen, a good woman is a good wife, period. It's
But
not a
here's
Black woman. It's not a white
my.
woman. It's just a
Mhm.
good woman that makes a good wife.
I agree. And so here's the thing that I was also gonna say. When we talk about femininity and women being docile, there's a whole luxury movement happening right now,
Yeah,
and so forth.
it
One of the
is.
things that I don't think Black men in the space when they talk about it, it's like they are taking the blueprint of a culture that's dominant and that has more power and resources
And trying to
than
apply
we
it.
do, and
Mhm.
saying, for example, it's like looking at the rich person across the street's wife, and she's always well dressed, and she always have on the best perfumes and well made up, and you look at your wife, and you know y'all ain't got no damn money, but you look
Yeah,
at your wife and you say,
you
why
think
can't you
she's
be like
supposed to.
her?
Yep.
Why can't you dress like her? Why can't
Yeah,
you smell like her? Why can't you
yeah,
drive? You get what I'm trying to say? Why
right,
can't you support me like her? Why can't you have that attitude like her?
yeah,
Sir, do you really need to ask me that?
right. Because see, here
You
the
know what
flip
I'm saying?
side,
How I do?
is, why can't you protect me like him? Why can't you provide
Uh-uh.
for me like
You are
him?
not
Why,
doing
and
this.
see, we don't see that ain't the space we want to go into. So here, I'll
That's
take it
why.
back and go this way with it. Because look, and see, because I can do them both. I'm valid. I
Yeah,
got a sword and a shield, baby. I can do
I
them both.
know.
I hurt your feelings. But here's the thing: because were attacked by we were attacked by attack dogs with you. We were sprayed with water hoses with you. That's why we can't. We were imprisoned with you. Fannie Lou Hamer was beaten by two Black men because the white sheriff told them to beat her up or else they were going to kill him. So
Mm-hmm.
we have been pitted against each other. We have been pimped out. We have been made to have sex with our own children.
Mm-hmm.
We have suffered an atrocity in this nation that these people are going to have to one day pay for. But they never get to the point of having to pay for what they did to us because they keep us fighting with each other. That's what this whole thing about
Mm-hmm.
masculine energy and all that is about. Because like I said, I watch other cultures of people pull their communities up out of ruin because of the love that they have for their people. And that's why sometimes I want to go to war, but I have to know where the fight is. And our men are going to have to stop labeling us as masculine because that's exactly what it is. It's a label, like what you said about the colorism. She doesn't have
Mm-hmm.
more value than me because her skin is lighter, unless we're talking about a proximity to whiteness, you know?
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
And so,
Absolutely.
that's where all of it, the misogyny, all of it is coming out of their culture. But we're watching their culture in decline. Why would we want to be there? Like you said, all these luxury movements, all these, like, I'm not trying to rest in femininity. I'm trying to use femininity for power and for resources because that's what my community needs from me right now.
Correct. And that's the other thing, is that resting in your femininity give me like this, static, inactive, and
Luxury.
feminine energy is not inactive. It's not you just resting. No, my that energy serves a purpose as well. The same revolution that you're trying to fight is going to need the feminine energy to fight it as well. There is no sitting and let me just say this. When men talk about black women and sitting in their femininity and so forth, I always ask, in this society, when have black women really had that luxury?
Yeah.
When?
Yeah.
When has that happened? So
Yeah.
you
We've
are
never been
telling me,
housewives.
right? You're telling me that there's mass incarceration, right? You're telling me that there is police brutality. You're telling me that there is even infighting because that
Housing
exists as
crisis.
well, right?
Housing
And
crisis. Black women are
right,
the most homeless group of people in this country right now. Black women.
correct. And so if we outnumber our men, right? And you're saying that, okay, men are supposed to be the leaders. So you know that there's going to be a lot of black women without men, right? So let me ask a question. They are supposed to do what? Sit down, not educate themselves, not provide for themselves, not work? Come on. Like,
I tell you what they told me, polygamy.
mhm.
They said we all gotta share now.
Now,
That's what they've been
I
saying.
have a sensitive spot for the topic of polygamy, but go ahead.
Baby, I got I'm about to do a whole series on it because it ain't gonna happen. But my point, it ain't gonna happen over here, baby. If somebody else want my man, they can take him because I'm not sharing. But the thing of it is like you said, we can still co-op, we can still create communities. It, I I operate in masculine energy all the time. I don't think it makes me less of a woman. I don't think it makes me less desirable as a woman, especially not for men that want to get work done. They're
Mm,
happy to be able to a woman is a multiplier. You give her a house, she give you a home. They're happy to have their image multiplied by a woman that can harness the same type of power that they can. Most
mhm,
men that are in their masculine energy
mhm, mhm,
don't find it competitive. But I see white men use my strength, creativity, value. They ascribe value and worth to what I'm able to procure and do for them instead of how I look as a person. And they get so much further with the goals and things that they have. You can walk into any other culture and be able to do something of value, and you will be regarded for that as opposed to how you look. And so I think all of it comes back to how our culture was set up because we were
mhm.
put on stocks and blocks,
Yeah.
and they inspected our teeth
Mhm,
and they
mhm,
inspected our genitalia, and
mhm,
they said, this one got good smooth skin, look like he been fed good, and they
mhm,
said this one is taller, this one is shorter, he might be better for this. And our men are literally back to some white supremacy, like just putting you up on stock. Well, this one, she more submissive, and and it's like, what is it exactly?
the rating system. The
Yeah,
rating
but it's
system.
like,
Yes.
what are you exactly trying to do? And it's like, well, because I ask men this, I'm one of those women. I talk to men, I do, because
Mhm,
I'm not male identified, so I'm not gonna
mhm,
speak for them.
mhm.
And I asked him, I said, well, what exactly are you trying to do? Well, I want to retire early. I'm trying to start my own business, da, 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 da. And they'll give me a list of things that they want to do. And I'm like, okay, do you feel like that woman can help you do that? And they're always like you never considered whether or not this woman was actually supposed to help you with your vision? Like, she just ass and tits. That's what we doing.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
like every time I've actually had the conversation with them to say, well, what type of woman would you need that could help you retire in the next 20 years, that could
Mhm,
help you build a business from scratch without nothing? You're a felon and don't have any education. Like, what type of woman would you need in order to live the lifestyle that you tell you a high value man? Okay, got it. What do you need? And
mm,
when they list stuff, it's never what they looking for. And I'm always like,
mm,
you didn't notice that?
mhm,
So that's why I said we can't trust we the men that are, when we look at men like Denzel Washington, we look at men like
mm.
Samuel L. Jackson, we look at men like I want to pick a corporate man. But when we look at the men that are actually accomplishing goals, they have a quiet, non-dramatic life
They're not having these conversations
at all.
at all. I
They
keep
don't
saying
even
that.
know who
The
Kevin
men,
Samuels is.
listen, the men that are out there putting in the work and they are aligning and bringing the woman into their space who can work with them, putting in the work. That work can look like we both to
Mhm.
build a family. We both to build a kingdom. We both to build our community, whatever that is. Okay, we start from here and we expand out. They are not having these conversations about black
Not at
women
all.
being masculine. They're not having the conversation. So for me, I question why. So the same way I said, a lot of our women is like we're waiting for the men to do this thing, this magical thing. I feel like a lot of our men are using certain things about black women as excuses for their unproductiveness. I'm being
Absolutely.
honest about that. So, if
Absolutely.
in other words, is that the reason why I can't move ahead in life is because my woman will not submit. My woman will not be feminine. My woman will not be docile. And
Now,
that,
who does that sound like? That sounds like Adam in the garden when he said, "It was the woman that you gave me. That's the reason why we're in this position." And men don't understand that when they go to that excuse, they're operating from the curse. You getting ready to get kicked out the garden. And this is the place where I will say that I think the women, the same way men tell us that we shouldn't be picking pookies and ray rays and thugs and stuff like that, like we as women, if we really expect our community to be led by the strongest, most mentally capable men. Because what you have to understand is that alpha men only make up 15% of a pack or a pride. So all these men can't be alpha men. It's not statistically possible. So
so
if
that
we're if we're really gonna
somebody
put
lying, somebody lying.
somebody lie. So if we're gonna put the alpha males, the ones that don't know who Kevin Samuels are, the ones that go out and put in a good hard day's work, the ones that come home to women and children, the ones who have never had a conversation in a whole life with a woman about whether she submits or not, because they naturally are operating in the favor of God that allows them to submit man, woman, child, and creature. Because see, that's what Adam had before he had dominion. He
Mhm.
told the animals what to do. He told a lion what to do. So he wasn't concerned about who was submitting or who wasn't. So if we're gonna let those men be the one to say, "Oop," if we're gonna let those men be the ones that speak for this community, then here's what they don't tell you about alpha females. Alpha females are 23% of any pride. There's always going to be more alpha females than alpha males. But an alpha female's job, females in the beehive, the female's job is to get rid of ineffective male leaders. So if a alpha male, if a pride leader is not taking care of their pride, the female alpha lions will eat him.
Mm, mm.
They will remove the weakness from their pride. So it's a lot of men that aren't getting chose. And instead of them looking at themselves and their character as a man, am I putting forth the best product? Am I really able to provide for a woman and children? Am I as educated as I should be? Am I as clean as I could be? Am I able to cook and do the things that I'm looking for from a woman? And instead of looking inward, we're pacifying that when we need to be getting those men out of here and putting the men who actually represent our interests as women on a pedestal. Because I'm sorry, this is one thing I will say we as women have been getting wrong. We
Mhm.
are putting a bunch, me and my friend call them FNFs. We putting a bunch of freak niggas up on top of pedestals and listening to what they're saying about the community, when we really need to take those quiet men that are working in the background, actually getting stuff done, and let them be the ones that are getting the shine. The same way that
Thank
woman
you.
the same way the women that's doing what they supposed to be doing aren't getting their shine, those men, the ones you talk about, those are the ones that need to be who we're concerned about.
Mhm. Mhm. So it's like, and I keep saying this when we have these conversations. It's what you just said. There's a couple of things that just came to me. So what you just said, it's like these conversations that we're having is about a certain demographic of people, like a certain group of people within the culture. So, for
Right.
example, when they bring up the Pookie and Ray Rays, right? I usually say I am not going to have a conversation where I use Pookie and Riri as a scapegoat. Our issues as a black collective is beyond the Pookie and Riris. And let's be clear. Let's be clear. We have a lot of Pookie and Riris walking around with PhDs, masters, bachelor's degrees in suits in corporate America, making six figures and calling themselves high value men. Okay? They are there. Okay, and to take the light off of themselves, their focus is on the Pookie and Riri. You know why? Because the poor is always an easy target. The poor in this country is, and that's what I'm talking about. There's a lot of internalized white supremacy that we have going on with us. A lot of these
Classism.
talking points that our men have are coming. It's very Eurocentric in nature,
Yeah.
and it's very anti-black. And they
Yeah.
think that it's masculine. That's not masculinity. That is anti-blackness. That
Yeah.
is all that is.
It's what you said though, because now, Hanifa, you added a new layer of it that we hadn't even discussed before, because we talked about racism, sexism, colorism, classism. And
Yes.
all of that is coming out of the white supremacy model, because the white supremacy model says we hold on to power by keeping them separated, keeping them stratified. Because I don't care what nobody say, we all pour out here. I mean, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and them go make sure they're going.
Uh-oh. You're freezing up. Says you're freezing up. I'm not sure what's going on. Can you hear me? Let's see if she comes back. It was just getting real sweet too. Anyway, while I wait for her to unfreeze, it's a good.
Okay, am I back?
Yes, back. Go ahead. You were saying something about Elon
No,
Musk.
I'm just saying, like you said, but what we as women operating in, because like you said, it's a balance. We got to have both masculine and feminine energy, and us operating in balanced energy.
Yeah.
We got to root that out. We got to root everybody right now where we are, because we're at such a sensitive, tenuous spot. Inflation is, like I said, I'm always talking about the greater picture.
Yes.
Inflation, all this stuff is high. So we've got to start deading all the conversations about man versus woman, color, light skin versus dark skin. We got to dead all that out, and we've got to use our alpha female energy to
Mm-hmm.
start not attacking, because see, that's what we look at, and we're like, well, there are black men. They're our black fucking enemy. They're our enemy. They are our enemy. They are the enemy. They are the Bill O'Neills. They're the same people that got Fred Hampton shot. They're the same people that got Martin Luther King shot. They're the same people that went up and shot Martin Luther King. I mean, shot Malcolm X, because those were black men that,
Mm-hmm.
that shot at him and killed him. Everybody said it was the FBI. I don't care. There was black men involved in coordinating that. And so we have to stop thinking as black people that every black person, and I put this in my episode because it was a conversation between Nikki Giovanni and James Baldwin. We've forgotten a lot of our history because they left the path, they left the blueprint for us, and we deviated from it. But James Baldwin said that, he said, not every black face has a black mind. And we got to
Right.
get them out of our culture before we start trying to take on white supremacy.
So I'm gonna now you did say that you consider black women we already went over why black women show up as what they call masculine.
Masculine. Mm-hmm.
Right. So now I want to get into the conversation. And let me just say, if anyone wants to join, feel free. I usually open up my panel. I'm a little behind on opening it up, but the link is in the chat. So feel free to
Come on
join.
in.
If there's a guy, I think some guy wanted to come up. He was asking. You guys are always welcome, not a problem.
Of
Um,
course.
but go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, if my energy changed, just understand, just understand. I'm
Go
here
ahead.
to push. I'm just here to push those buttons and get us, like you
Yeah.
said, thinking about it and having those conversations. I have great compassion for my people. I have a whole pantry. And you were talking too. I was just gonna throw it out too to say that I have my Wireless Woman channel also on YouTube, and I'm
Yeah.
trying to get like you, Hanifa. Look, I'm trying to get like you, Hanifa, and get these lives popping off. But I have a pantry that I'm always willing to, help black women and help black people out of my pantry, because we do need to stick together. But like what Pharrell said on the Lemon song, first the truth, the truth will set you free. but first it's
Mm-hmm.
gonna piss you off, you know. We can't be afraid to be mad at each other like brothers and sisters how they fight, but they, you know, but then they come together and they like, but none of y'all better mess with us. So it's like we got to start critically what is this critically drinking? We got to start really critically thinking as people, and invite everyone into this collective consciousness, because that's the way that we grow.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I'm putting Wireless Woman's link in the chat. So you guys go
I
ahead and
love
give her a
it.
sub.
Come, y'all come show me some love over here. Like I
Give her
said,
a
now
sub and give her.
I'm not nearly as fancy as Hanifa, you know, but I'm
Oh
getting
no.
there. You know, I'm getting there. No, I got to tell you, girl, you know, you were saying the other day how we as black women don't show love to each other. Don't I'm feeling what you're doing. Like I really appreciate you. And some days when I'm ready to throw my channel in the trash, I will watch one of your videos, and it really because you know people do not know the behind the scenes of how much goes into trying to
Yeah,
get these
yeah.
broadcasts, these channels up, you know, making content, and just trying to really bring something that you know will benefit people, that's worth the time that people could have spent doing anything else, but they came to spend time with you, you know,
Mhm.
and you're worth that time, Hanifa. So I just wanted to say that from me to you. I love being on your platform for real.
Thank you. You have no idea how honored I am. So I see sis, I see you, E.
Welcome, sis.
I'm gonna get to you real quick. Just now, but I wanted to make sure I throw this out since we have another sister come up. I encourage the men to please join as well, so we can have this conversation, because
You
you
bet.
might feel like you have your own reasons as to why black women are masculine, and maybe you see it differently from us, and we welcome
We do.
opposing views. But I wanted to get into the conversation of submission, and how a lot of our men are connected it to the lack of femininity. So they're saying black women are not submissive because they're not feminine. So I want to get into that next, but I also want to welcome E. E, you left. You on mute. You're on mute, sis. Okay, go ahead. Hi.
I'm I'm still here, ladies. Hello, hi, hello to everyone in the room. Hi,
Hi.
Hanifa. I love your show.
Thank
Um,
you.
I my thoughts just left my mind. As
I could
far as
circle back.
okay, so as far as what was the question? Are women are black women too masculine, or what?
Yes, that is the conversation. Yes. Do you think that black women are too masculine? And if so, why? And in what way,
I
actually?
okay. I don't know if my sound is okay or not, but I'll
It's a little
proceed.
scratchy. Hmm.
I I I don't think that we're too masculine. I think that we are what we are because of the environment that we're in,
Hmm.
and I've been single most of my life. I've been in good relationships, but we were going in two different directions, so that's why those relationships dissolved in most cases.
Hmm.
Um, but the type of occupation that I'm in, I find that it does take away my, or minimizes, I should say, my femininity, because I work as a technician and then I work third shift at that. So I don't necessarily work a traditional job, or a job that one would consider something that women would generally do. But when I think about our history in this country in particular, I can't speak from the perspective of other places, but in this country, and as a woman, a black woman, and growing up as a black girl,
Hmm.
I wasn't tied into any middle class type of situation,
Mhm.
or family that was tied into organizations such as like fraternities, sororities, or anything of that nature. So
Hmm.
for the most part, my family, we were basically laborers. We were all, for the most part, working people. And so my generation pretty much is like the first generation that's graduating with degrees and such. So, however, I haven't associate's degree. But as far as if someone was to, I would think that someone from the outside looking at me would probably think that I'm not as feminine, maybe, as I don't know, the social norm would like for me to be. But
Mm-hmm.
I am what I am because of my environment, because I've been trying to survive my whole entire life. You know,
Mhm.
I've always wanted to be in a whole and healthy relationship, but I find that this society, or at least my my world, everything was anti-family in a lot of ways. So when I see people making it, that come from a similar background, and what I consider making it is still, in spite of all of those things, was able to find a compliment, and they were able to work it out and build together, you know, and have children and raise those children, without them feeling less than. I think that's a win, you know, and that's very, me, I still find to do.
Wait,
And
Yeah,
E,
I was gonna say,
I
yeah,
don't
E,
know
you're
you're
go.
breaking up a
Wait,
little bit,
yeah,
E.
you're
if
breaking
being
up.
married,
It seems
I
like
would
it's getting
in
worse.
a relationship.
Can you hear us?
Well, Hanifa, do you mind if I pick it up for a second?
Sure, because actually was going to respond to some, but go ahead. You're fine. Go ahead.
Yeah, yeah, and I want us to respond to her just because I don't know if she can hear us right now. Give us a okay if you can hear us right now. But everything that you're saying is valid. It's very valid. But I will say it is coming out of all of the isms that we talked about. It's coming out of classism. It's coming out of a lot of things that you want for yourself as a woman, not understanding fully the collective consciousness of what you contribute. You are just a woman who has value to us as a race and as a person and as a culture because of the contributions that you've made, because of what you've come out of and who you are and what you contribute just in a daily basis. I know because I'm divorced twice, baby. I hadn't been single all my life, but I've been married and divorced twice. And sometimes I think that my value as a woman, like I'm not as feminine. Maybe if I was more this or less that, I could, be in proximity to men or be in proximity to this or be in proximity to that. But when I begin to love myself, that's when I could find all of the relationships that I wanted. And just as a side note, travel, get around. I find a lot of women don't meet men because we're just boxed in how we view the
Yes.
approach of them. Walk up to a man, talk to him. They tell you that stuff is masculine, but men love that stuff. Men love that. That stuff,
Men want to feel desired and wanted
Shoot
just
your
as much as
shot. Y'all
yes,
see that? You see
yes,
that form right there? Shoot your shot. Get
yes,
in
yes.
there. Anyway, I'm sorry. What was your response, Aniva?
No, no, no. I was gonna say she answered the question. She was saying that yes, black woman, she don't necessarily see it as us being masculine. She's saying that she think it has to do with the environment that we find ourselves in, and that's kind of sort of what I mentioned earlier. That if you have a woman that's single and is she supposed to starve until a man is able to come and feed her? Is she supposed to exist in a society that values education and it's a way for you to progress yourself? Should she not educate herself? And she's a single woman, she's not with a man as yet. The conversations around that just sound so crazy, and it's like
Mhm.
it's almost like we're asking women to be married fresh out of high school. It seems like that's what a lot of people are pushing for. And let's be honest, with all of the beauty politics that exist in our community, which has a whole lot to do with proximity to whiteness. Okay, let's be honest. You guys are not wiping up a lot of the sisters that look a certain way. Like I mean, I'm just being honest about that,
Yeah,
right?
I wasn't supposed to be a wife. The only reason why I am a wife, like I said, was because I divested. I got outside of our race and outside of our culture. But what I found in doing that, and I know we ain't talking about this at all, but what I found in doing that was that I didn't have the skills. I didn't have the family skills. I had, like what she was saying, I hadn't grown up with a family that mom worked. Mom didn't have time to teach me. I had to learn how to cook after I got married. I was the type of woman that a black man, based on the criteria that they have for
Mhm.
women, would not have chosen for a good reason. I hate to say that because I know somebody gonna weaponize that, but once I got outside the culture and I started to see how other men take care of their women, it did soften me and allow me to be able to come back into a space where I said I have value just as a woman, just in being here.
Mhm.
I was meeting white men that were saying, my wife is my companion. If she wants to cook, great. But if she doesn't, that's fine. If she wants to clean, fine. But if she does, I can pay someone to clean, but I can't pay someone to be my companion. So I think that the things that we have been taught culturally to value, like you said, are based in all these isms and white supremacy power
Mhm.
structure. It doesn't really go to the heart. Because when I talk to black men about what they really want, what they haven't found, why they're not married, we have one of the most unmarried group of men. Why are y'all not getting married? And when they tell me what they want, it's none of the stuff that they're looking for. It's none of the stuff that's on these social media apps. They don't care if women cook. I mean, Cardi B said that in WAP. I don't cook, I don't clean, but I tell you how I got this ring. That's facts. That's bars.
So I have so now I want to, because I know we're going to be wrapping up soon. So I want to discuss. You talked about earlier that um a sister had mentioned to you, hey, you need to tap in more to your feminine. So let's go over some practical things, because here's how I look at this. So when you talk about black women being the feminine, let's say the feminine being the visionary, right? I think that for a vision to succeed to where it becomes actualized, it can only do so in a safe space. And so I think that when we talk about black women being more feminine, we have to discuss the matter of safety. Is it
Yes.
safe to do what you guys are asking of black women? Is it safe for black women to do that? Because functioning in your masculine, no woman wakes up, because men have this idea. I keep hearing this conversation. Oh, women want to be men. There is no, most of us are not waking up and saying, wow, today I just wish I had a,
I just wish I could be a man. Yeah.
right? I wish I can go and piss in the grass and shake it off. I just want to be able to do that. I want to be able to stand
Yeah.
up and piss. No
Yeah,
woman,
they're not women, so they don't know how awesome it is.
right? We're not having that conversation, right? So when I hear men say that, I'm just like, no, I think that's a very lazy approach to the why black women show up the way. It's not we want to be men. So then if it's not that, then what is it? So when
Right.
you're asking us to show up as soft, right? Because that's one of the terms for femininity for a lot of our men. We need to be softer,
Mhm.
right? But in order for softness to not be taken advantage of, it
Mhm.
needs to be protected. It needs to exist in a safe
But
space.
here's the question, Hanifa.
Uh-huh. Give it to me.
Who needs to protect it? That's that's what it all comes down to. You said practically, what do we do to become more feminine? So I
Yes.
have a 3-part program, which is unplugged,
Mhm.
unbothered, and unleashed. When I realized I had the power within myself to defend, to protect and defend, because those are not the same things, to
Mhm.
protect and defend, because a lot of our men will protect us, but they won't defend us. And we don't know the difference between what those two terms are. So
Tell
then
us
we
the
miss out.
difference.
So to protect something is from the outside. That
Mhm.
means that even though I done seen some stuff lately, I'm like, geez, y'all just gonna let this. But it's an outside threat.
Okay.
But a defense is an inside threat. You know what I'm saying? Like I
Mhm.
felt like I found my person when I had the type of man that said, I will not come between us. I will defend this relationship from the inside out. If I ever become the enemy, I'll take care of myself. If you ever become the enemy, we're going to deal with that. And so it's a a protection and a defense. Like there are times for me as a woman where my feminine energy, because it's so creative, is chaotic. It's
Mm-hmm.
chaotic. And so a big part of feeling safe and being able to protect my feminine, divine femininity is creating safety within myself. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why I say a lot of times they're telling us as women, don't defend yourselves.
Mm-hmm.
That's what be soft means. It means I can attack you and you take it, you turn the other cheek. They
That's
told black people that. They said if y'all turn the other cheek, then we won't kill you in the street. And then you got people laying in the street getting killed in the street without even putting up a fight. So we do have to understand as women that we have both a sword and a shield. There
mm-hmm.
are times when we are the enemy and we got to deal with that. If we don't do that personal work, we'll never be able to fully embrace femininity. But there is a time when it comes from the outside and we have to protect ourselves as women from those influences, you know, from people telling us who we are. That's the unplugged part. We got to get off these social media platforms. People don't know, but those women that were calling in the Kevin Samuel shows were being paid to do that. We were being sold a show, and we think that that's really what Black culture is. But when you unplug from these social media apps and TV shows and stuff that's being said, and actually go sit down with a Black man, go sit down with a Black woman, you find out that that's not even who we really are.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I have someone put in here, um, Lionheart. He says black women were taught was taught oftentimes to be in opposition to black men. Do you agree with disagree with that?
What were Black men taught?
Ah, 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 ah,
See, that's how I talk to him. Hanifa, that's how I talk to him. No, I get what you're saying, but we were both taught that. Who taught it? Where did it come
Okay.
from? We were
Okay.
both taught to be in
Yeah.
opposition with each other, but that's
Yeah.
where the unplugged piece comes in because unlearn that.
But you know
Unlearn
what?
that.
You know what? You keep bringing up a point which I agree with, and I feel like even what with the so-called gender war, I'm just like, oh my gosh, I feel like we're puppets on a string. How are you guys
Absolutely.
missing this? But you know what I came to? We're not missing it. We're not. I think all of us are aware of who the enemy really is. I
It's
think we're aware.
programming. Yeah,
Yeah,
we're being
it's
programmed.
not just programming, it's powerlessness.
Mm-hmm.
It's powerlessness because
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to keep saying it is like two children in a house, okay,
Mm-hmm.
being abused by the adult in the house,
Mm-hmm.
okay. They are just 5 and 6 years old. They have no power to fight the adult. Who do
Yeah,
you think they fight? They fight each
exactly. As
other.
soon as the adult leaves, they take on the traits of how the adult was, and now they want to oppress each other.
Exactly. So
But
for me, I feel like what's happening, what we see as the divide, and the reason why we are allowing the divide to happen, is because we are just disempowered as a people, and someone. It's almost like the woman who is frustrated at work. She comes home and she takes it out on the children. It's the man who goes to work and the boss like calls him a boy all day and whatever, and he comes home and he beats his wife. It's the same scenario playing out. What's happening is the men and the women are trying to gain their power from abusing each other. Okay, you have just made me feel small, so I now have to feel big by picking or getting at someone who is smaller than
taller
me.
than me.
That is
Yeah.
all it is. I
Yeah.
remember at my job one time we had a training, and one of the guys, it was actually a white lady. She talked about, she was the middle child, and she talked about how the sister and her relationship has always been strained because the mom used to leave the older sister to take care of them a lot, right? And because the older sister resented the mom for that, she was so mad at the mom, like she didn't feel like she had a life. She ended up abusing her younger siblings. And so the lady was saying in the training like that, like they're trying to build their relationship back, because she's a social worker and seeing the psychology, seeing a therapist is help to understand what happened between them. It's
Yeah.
no different with us. For me,
Yeah.
I'm just like, what we're doing is we're trying to find ways to gain some power, to feel some sort
Right.
of empowerment, and we are trying to snatch it by hurting each other. That's
Right. But see,
what's happening. Go ahead.
That's where the unbothered piece comes in,
Okay.
because that's their problem. That's their issue. Like, even when I like, because on my channel, baby, things be different. When I get questions like that, disregard. I mean, the reason why is not that I don't love you and I don't appreciate you, but
Mm-hmm.
do a Google search. Like, I can't get into what the white man did. I can't get into all of those things. The only thing
Mm-hmm.
I can do, like when you said what's a practical way for black women to
Yes.
be more feminine,
Mm-hmm.
therapy.
Mm-hmm.
Therapy. Focus on you. I've spent 8 years in therapy.
Mm-hmm.
That's been a big part of, like, I had to accept when my first marriage failed, okay, what's my responsibility? And
Right.
then as I did that work, I got into a second marriage where I was like a stellar wife. Like, I was wifing for the gods, and it was pulling my ex-husband, my second ex-husband, apart because he had not done a lot of work. And
Mm-hmm.
when I say go your own way, and even what E was talking about when she came up, as far as like saying she felt like she was going in different directions, if the path of doing what's good and right and righteous, if the path of loving yourself separates you from the man who loves you, did he really? Like, you got to ask yourself the question, if me being my best self, if me coming in here, being consistent, being kind, being loving, being soft
Mm-hmm.
creates chaos, if it creates an oppressive state,
Mm-hmm.
maybe it ain't you. Like they say, it's not me, it's you. It's not you, it's me. Maybe it's not me, it's you. And that's
Mm-hmm.
where I'm saying, if we continue as women to just stay in that space where we're owning our power, where we're walking into those rooms that we're being celebrated and appreciated in, and working those skills. I've become a very skilled saleswoman by being around white men. They
Mm-hmm.
understand that they got to capitalize off of everybody else's culture and race. They got to sell to everybody. They got to make sure black women are buying hair weave, and they got to make sure white women are buying it too, because they want to look like black women.
Mm-hmm.
They are the ones that set the standards and decides who's going to spend their money where. So
Mm-hmm.
as I'm learning that skill and that trait from them, I'm able to come back now into these settings with my people and say, here's what we got to do. And so it's like, don't tell your woman she can't, I don't want, you can't get to this, because this is what's in the
What
best interest of us as a whole
as
collective
a whole,
people.
as a whole.
And that's why I said we got to start to move that way. We got to start to move towards freedom. We can't keep having the conversations about slavery, about institutional racism, colorism, sexism. We got to start to move towards freedom. Like when she talked about, when Eve was talking about survival, being in
Mm-hmm.
survival mode, to
Mm-hmm.
move from survival mode to thriving mode is to become okay with everything that got you to that point, with everything that got you there. It wasn't pretty, baby. The stuff I grew up with, the stuff I went through, and all of the failures that I've had in my relationship, but I integrated them. Instead of trying to get rid of them, I embraced the dark side. I embraced my masculinity. I integrated masculinity into my femininity. If you watch The Matrix, that's what Neo had to do at the end. He had to become part of the machine in order to defeat it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know?
What do you think about so as far as the femininity piece for me, like I said, I know that the two energies exist in me. I need women to understand that. Because at the end of the day, in this to exist in this society and to function and to progress, if you don't have that man or male or
Mhm.
husband in your space, you're going to have to lean on your masculine energy to navigate this society. So you should not be shamed for that. You should not allow. And then here's the other thing. This is why I focus on women really putting the work in on defining themselves and really tapping into who they are as an individual. Because if you do not, you're just going to go with every wind. And today, men are going to say, this is what makes a good woman. And then tomorrow is something else. And if you are not rooted and grounded in who you know yourself to be, you're just going to be what they use the word pick me, but you are just going to be following every win,
Every trend.
yeah,
Mhm.
every trend.
Unfortunately, we're watching white women do that now. I feel really bad for them because they told
Exactly.
them if they would just be black women, they would love them. And now they got all these BBLs and all this stuff, and they still being
Correct.
treated poorly. So if that doesn't show us as women that trying to follow all these trends is not in our best interest. I don't know what will, but we definitely, like you said, have to own as women that our men have moved into their divine femininity. They rest some of them, I know
Some of
they
them.
get triggered. Don't shoot the messenger. Have moved into this feminine space because we've been moving in so much masculine energy for so long. But our time is coming. Like I said, I'm a prophet, I'm a visionary. And so our time to rest is coming. But if
Mhm.
we don't learn how to embrace rest, then when it comes, we'll still be working when it comes time to rest. You know, we have been the most educated group of women. We have been the most upwardly mobile. We are the most business owners. So we've done it, you know, and we've
Mhm.
come from crack moms. We've come from pimps. You go back and watch those movies in the 70s, the way they used to talk to women,
Mhm.
like those old pimp movies and stuff like that. They
Mhm.
tried this once before.
Mhm.
And they decimated our community with this same propaganda that our men, you know, they was, you know, the pimps and stuff, our backhand, and you know, the violence, the things
Mhm.
that we used to watch, and now it's just a more insidious enemy. It's more
Mhm.
like, oh, are you gonna wear that dress? Are you uh, you know, you got on lashes and you got, because they pick us apart for everything.
Oh no, we're police heavy for sure.
If you
Mhm.
wear lashes, there's something wrong with it. If you don't, if it's something wrong, like this one, I don't understand. I get guys asking me all the time, "Are you affectionate?" Why do you need to know? Like, it's so weird. But my point is, all of these messages are coming. I'm like, am I supposed to like walk up to you on the street and just like I don't know. So my
And
point,
that's the other. Go ahead. Go ahead.
no, no, no.
No, I was going to say that's the other thing that I keep hearing where, men are expecting women to like be a certain way with complete strangers simply because they're men. And I'm just like, what are you talking about? That's dangerous. That is very dangerous, right? But but
Grooming. That's somebody that's grooming you because,
Mhm.
like you said, a man that understands his role to protect and provide. Like, I'm a woman that grew up with my dad, and I think that's why I thought for so long I was masculine, because fathers, you
Mm.
know, our community is heavily fatherless, but fathers would
Mhm.
be like, don't let that man take, you know, he better pay for everything.
Mhm.
You don't
Mhm.
put your foot out. If he don't open the door for you, tell him take you home. He don't, men have standards, baby.
Mhm.
That's why they make so much more on the job than we do, because they negotiate their value. They don't just come, you can't say, well, you know, the start and pay for this is $22. They're gonna be like, no. You
No.
know, they negotiate that. And that's a big part of femininity too, is the negotiation for your value. It's not just accepting that if I give you everything you're looking for, well, then you'll give me. No, the feminine initiates.
But here's my question to you though. So you just mentioned something about fatherlessness, right? And I know like when we talk about femininity, it immediately evokes a vision of just a woman, right? But do you think that the masculinity that we see in ourselves in women in the collective, in the black collective, do you think fatherlessness has something to do with that as well? Why?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's the reason why our men haven't fully embraced what masculinity is. That's why they think it's a competition, because masculine energy competes with no one for nothing.
Mhm.
Masculine energy is one thing, and
Mhm.
feminine energy is the creative. That
Mhm.
we get to be here and there and up and down, but masculine energy accomplishes its goal. It is steadfast, it's immovable. And for women who have had their fathers in their lives, they have seen, because it takes masculinity to stay in the life of a child, whether you
Mhm.
be a woman or a man. Like, a lot of our women are in so much masculine energy because they're in the life of their kids. And
Mhm.
you got to provide, you got to protect, you got to nurture, you got to be there.
Yep.
So that's a masculine role right there. I
Very
mean,
true.
if
Very
our
true.
Godhead is accurate, God did all that by itself without a woman anyway.
Mhm.
So staying in the life of a child requires masculine energy. And any woman who has had her father in her life for any period of time has seen that consistent, steadfast energy. That's why so many of our women, they say we so overly emotional, which is weird, because the men that say that had to identify you being overly emotional, which meant he probably was too. But because a consistent man that's not in his femininity will cut all that to shreds, baby. I be talking to my man and he be like, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. You want something to eat? You seem hungry.
I am not entertaining all of that. You got
He's
it
like,
all.
he's like, I'm not even sure how much of this is you being upset and how much is just you being hungry. And then he'll be like, I'll cook. So, like, we're not seeing that type of balance as women.
Right.
We're not creating those safe spaces. But step 3 of us as women finding our femininity is creating
Practicality.
safe spaces with each other.
Thank you.
Women
Yes.
have to create hen houses again. I
Yep.
was raised in a hen house. I've always had the love and unconditional support of large groups of women. I've never been in competition with the women in my life and in my family. My grandma is God. She is God. I'm convinced there's no other God other than my grandma because I just love her. So my point
Mm-hmm.
is, we've got to now band together and create those safe spaces. If our men ain't gonna do it, for whatever reason, like I said, I'm not getting into it. I'm not saying they're
Mm-hmm.
bad people. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not saying they're not going through things. I'm not saying it. And we'll be there for them as we can, as we
Mm-hmm.
can.
Mm-hmm.
But we can't as long as we're in this masculine energy. And so it's going to take other women helping women balance out the divine feminine. Because like I said, it was a woman that came to me and said, you're bigger than this.
Mm-hmm.
You can do more than mule. You're more than a man. You're a woman.
Mm.
Because that masculine energy is the lowest form of energy. I know. But a lot of why we don't have in our community is because we haven't risen to the divine feminine. And that's why we're seeing so many men dressed up in dresses, Tyler Perry, Martin Lawrence and stuff, Big Mama's House and all this stuff, playing up the women in our society because we're not moving in that feminine energy anymore. They would rather pay a man to put on a dress and pretend to be a black woman than pay a black woman. Look at how
Oh yeah.
the lady from King Richard, I forget her name, she was saying how Will Smith had to go to them to get more money for the women in the cast because they were paying the women less than what they should have been making on the film. Like, we as our men aren't even coming in and saying, no, you're going to pay our women what you're paying us. No, we're going to stand up for our women. No, we're going to make sure our women have equal rights. No, we're going to fight for abortion rights for our women because we know that we don't want them dying in a back alley. Like, where do our men in that masculine energy be when it's time to fight for some women's rights? And that's why I said it's time for us to pull all of our interests in caping for them and being out on there, marching for them and all that stuff, just because we need to start creating safe spaces for women so that when women's issues and women's rights come under attack, we have a sisterhood. Like you said in your video a
Mm-hmm.
couple of days ago, that women are in competition with each other because we want men.
Right.
Otherwise, if I didn't want your man, I would never have beef with you, Hanifa.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. That I think that even and the key word is safe spaces, creating safe spaces, because there are women who are out there and they're trying to create these spaces for women, right? One of the women, Queen Afua, who I
I
admire
love
very
her.
much. So yes, I
I have
admire
her
her.
book right here,
Yeah, which one you have?
Sacred Woman.
Oh, Sacred Woman. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I have Sacred Woman, I have Heal Thyself, I have the Angry Vagina.
So good. So good.
Right. But
You gotta throw that link in there so that other women can get on that.
yeah, there's a lot of women creating those spaces, but I think a lot of those spaces, women are very still much male centered and male focused.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so they bring that energy into the space, which creates further this divide, and
Mhm.
women are being hurt in those spaces where they're coming to learn to tap in to their femininity, and they're leaving wounded, right? Because women are entering into the space and they still haven't disconnected their femininity from men,
Men.
or from
Mhm.
captivating men,
Mhm.
or getting men.
Yeah.
There are women right now, like, and then the last thing I wanted to say is, as far as femininity, one of the things that I keep saying is that there is no space for the, and this is me, and I might be selfish here. I don't feel like there's space when men are having the conversation around femininity. When they're describing femininity, I feel like there's no space for like the warrior spirit. And the warrior spirit exists in women too. You know what I mean? And so when I'm hearing the conversations, I'm just like, no, some of us, I mean, I feel like I have all the elements in me, right? Water, fire, air, like it's all there. But my dominant one is fire, right? And so if I show up in that, it's very easy for someone to say, oh, you're masculine. No, I'm not masculine, and this is not what masculinity is.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
Exactly. So I think that a lot of us are I don't even want to say misdiagnosis, because it's not a misdiagnosis. We are mislabeling each other.
Absolutely.
You get
That's
what
why I
I'm
was gonna
saying?
say it's a label. Hmm.
Yeah. So some women are taking some things and saying, oh, this is what toxic masculinity is. And I'm like, no, that person is just operating in a weird what do you call it? Angry, mean spirit. Same thing with
Hmm.
women. You know what I'm saying? When
Yeah,
men
and
say,
it's and
"Oh,
that's
why
not a
can't
gender thing.
it's not," and that's the point I'm trying to make. It really is not a gender thing, but we're getting caught up in it
Mhm.
being a gender thing, and so women are
But
saying,
if
"Well,
we
this is
would
bringing
take the
on."
gender out, if we would take the
Mhm.
gender out as men and women and just relate to each other, you know, like I said,
Thank
that's
you.
that's what
Yeah.
has made my relationships, whether they be with men or women, the most successful. Is I'm not going to relate to you as a woman. I'm going to relate to you as a soul. I don't want you to relate to me as a black woman. You know, I want you to relate to me as someone who has value to the community. How can we learn from each other and how can we
Yeah.
grow? And that's what makes spaces like this one. Because, you know, here's the thing, we be out here all day talking about this. So
Yeah.
hopefully you'll invite me
I'm
back.
gonna wrap up. I'm gonna wrap
look,
up.
look,
Yes,
hopefully you'll invite me back because it's
I
it's an
will
ongoing
invite you back.
conversation. It's
Yeah.
just one of those things that we can't wrap up. We can't put a bow on. It's not any one thing. It's not this. Because like I said, once we open that door on masculinity, like white supremacy fell out. You know what I'm saying? There's so many things
Yeah.
behind those doors that for us to really unpack those things, like that's what I got from therapy. It's not the destination, it's the journey. You
It's the
know,
journey.
and we've had a
Yeah.
bloody journey in in this country as black women, just us. And like you said, the warrior is going to arise from all of those things, but if she arises with wisdom
Yes. Yes.
instead of vengeance, then even our men will be able to embrace that energy.
Yeah. And the last thing I'm gonna say before we wrap up is that the submission piece. I found myself one time on a platform and they brought up submission. And in that moment, I don't know, that was just the spirit in me. I just said, the conversation of submission is such a low vibrational conversation to me. And I'm being honest. And the reason why I say that is that we've never had that conversation in my house. There's no need for it. And you can go and call him and ask him if he feel disrespected. There's no need. There's no When you have a mutual love and respect for each other as just people, there is no need to discuss. Well, who's gonna lead? Oh my gosh! Like we can't move unless we determine who is leading. Oh my gosh! What does submitting to you look like? Like there is no conversation about submission. And I feel like there are people who are doing, like you said, are working together as a unit, doing the work, and that conversation never
Never
comes up.
comes up.
That topic
Never
never
comes up.
comes up.
Yeah, even the Bible says, submit yourselves one to another.
Correct.
You know, there are times, even in any organization, where the leader will say, you know, does anybody have any ideas? Like, so good leaders know that good leaders make better leaders,
Mm-hmm.
and they understand that. That's why, you know, if we're as women not being empowered to lead in the arenas that we're being sent to, like I said, I am a result of the man that raised me. He raised me to be a leader. He
Mm-hmm.
raised me to do what he could do and to do it better, because my dad understood you can go into rooms that I can't go into. So when you go into those rooms, know who you are. Because I was raised as a tomboy and I thought that meant I was masculine. But like I
Mm-hmm.
said, for me, embracing, because I was with my dad, we was out playing basketball. You know, I bite my nails off and stuff. We go play basketball. So, but that's because I had gender on my mind. But
Okay.
my dad always treated me as an equal. He always treated me as a person. You know,
Mm-hmm.
the things that he loved, he wanted me to love those things too. And when a man loves a woman that way, like we talk about the elements, five: water,
Mm-hmm.
earth, fire,
Air. Mm-hmm.
air,
Mm-hmm.
love, love.
Mm-hmm.
That's that fifth element. And like you said, we're suffering from a lack of self,
Mm-hmm.
and that self-love projects out, of course. But until we love each other enough to say, run your best race, run swift, let me get behind you
Mhm.
and push. Just like if it was me, you would get behind me and push. We have to submit one to another. And without that balance, somebody's going to become an oppressor.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for saying that. All right, so I'm not gonna keep you longer because I'm usually 5 to 7, and I'm gonna have to bring you back because there's so much more I want to talk about
Yeah,
with.
we got to unpack this. Well, you're going to be on my channel.
Yes, I am.
You're going to be on my channel June the 25th. I think that
Okay.
was the date we came up with.
Uh,
Either way, we'll post it. So you'll be on my channel and we going to cook.
yes, yes, and I'm super excited about that. And like I said, you guys, I'm gonna post. I know I saw some people said that they already subscribed, so that's a good
Thank
thing. But
you.
if you guys have not subscribed to the Wireless Woman as yet, I'm going to post her channel link in the chat. So you guys go on over there and subscribe. Please, please subscribe to her channel. I think she's pretty
Yeah.
dope, as you guys have
Thank
seen.
you.
Um,
Thank you. Yeah. Well, you
we
gave me a really good opportunity because things on my channel never go like this. So it really allowed me to be able to show my heart for, the content that I make. Cause look, and so people go subscribe, then unsubscribe when they get over there, baby, because I'll be cooking. But I do
no,
love my people. I do
I
love
know.
my people. There is a method
Mhm,
to the madness. And that's why I love channels like yours where we can
mhm,
delve so much more deeper into those
mhm.
issues and show the sisterhood. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like I'm gonna be down for you, pushing
Mhm.
you, no matter whether we agree or disagree. And
Right.
that's
And we're
what
not
people
going
have
to
to
agree
see.
on everything. We're not. We have
Yeah,
different experiences, different perspective, and that's okay. I actually think allowing that to happen is where the growth is at, honestly.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
in closing, what do you want people to leave here with before you exit out?
Well, I want them to leave here with the fact that I just love you. I love your hair. I used to wear mine low like that, and I just think you're awesome.
Thank
Um,
you.
but I do want us to leave with the fact that women, black women, we're gonna have to pull in and defend each other. Whether they're calling us masculine, they calling all of us masculine. So some of us are not clearly, but we're responsible for each other's image.
Mhm.
So now we have to all begin to, in our own way, harness that, integrate it. Like we've been fighting it so much. Integrate, own that. You know what I'm saying? Own that. Okay, we're masculine. Let's get some stuff done. Move on. We need to be unplugged. Let's do the work in the field.
Mhm.
Let's feed kids real food. Let's heal the broken. Elderly people in our community are highly underserved, and the black women are the main ones taking care of parents.
Mhm.
So when we're seeing each other being caretakers, let's give each other a break. Let's go back to how we used to be, helping each other with each other's kids. If my sister's going to school, let me help you with your math project. Let me write a paper for you. Like, let's figure out how we can begin to pull together and be unbothered. Leave these
Mhm.
men alone. If they want you, they'll let you know. And if they don't, who care? Why do we care what they think anyway? And then be unleashed. Once we finally get our power back, then we can actually harness it. Then we can help people. Then we can do what we're watching, Ketanji Brown Jackson and Sarah Abrams and, all these women that are out doing the work. We got to begin to build platforms for each other where we can elevate the black female voice and be able to do more for our communities than what we can do because we so worried about whether or not we're going to have a man. So
Mhm.
that's what I would say to take away from it. Be unplugged, unbothered, and unleashed. And that's what we're doing over here on the Wireless Women channel.
So you all heard it here. And she said unplug, unbother. And that unplug one, we're gonna get into it when I come over to your channel. The unplug, unbothered, and unleash. That is what we leave you
Absolutely.
guys with. Thank you guys for tuning in.
Thank you,
And
Hanifa.
until next, you are so welcome. And you are welcome here at any time. Until next time, next Friday, 5 p.m., same place, same time here on my platform. And when I am coming on Wireless Woman, I will share it so you guys can come over
Please
there
do.
and show the
Please
support
do.
as well. As usual, peace and blessings to everyone. And peace and blessings to you, Wireless Woman. Thank you for gracing us with your presence. I really
Thank you.
appreciate you. Until
Thank you.
next time, sis. Peace.
Peace.